What's up, guys? I've gotten a lot of requests lately to make a video about how to set up OBS for starting Twitch streaming. So what I'm going to do is show you how to set everything up, how to set up your gaming scene, how to add your microphone, your game, mix your audio, and how to build an OBS scene. I think this will help a lot of brand new streamers. I do see people run into issues a lot, like mainly with audio. Audio is the hardest thing to set up for sure. So I'll go over every step you need to know to set up your microphone and everything properly, and then how to build a scene from there. So one of the first things you want to consider is which streaming software you want to use. I just gotta say, hands down, OBS Studio is the best one. I think you should use OBS Studio. It doesn't look quite as streamlined as Streamlabs OBS, but SL OBS, Streamlabs OBS, it doesn't have as many settings. It doesn't work as well, in my opinion. It's just harder to use, even though it looks better. So I think you should download OBS Studio. Okay, so let's get started with OBS. I have all these other scenes already. Just ignore those. I'm going to show you how to start everything completely from scratch. So the first thing we want to do is add our microphone. In order to add our microphone, we need to go to Settings, Audio, and click on Mic/Auxiliary Audio. That's our microphone. So for me, it's this Onyx Blackjack. I use an audio interface because I have an XLR mic, but most of you will probably have either a headset or a USB mic. Just find it in this drop-down list and click on it. And once you click it, just click OK. So we can see here our microphone is only coming out of the left channel because I use a stereo interface. You probably don't have this problem, but if you do have it only coming out of one side, click on this wheel, click on Advanced Audio Properties, and make it mono. There you go. What you want to do is set your microphone to where it's getting into the low red. You want it to be right around here. And as you can see, it's getting only up to about right here. It's so quiet. And it's turned all the way up. So what we're going to have to do is add a gain filter. So to add a filter, you click on the wheel, click on Filters. We're going to click on the plus sign here and click on Gain. It looks like I need to add about 20 decibels. So I'm going to add 20. And now let's see. Yeah, see, now it gets into the red. Now it's right where it needs to be. We just added our microphone. Do you hear the hissing, the static in the background? You hear that background static, especially when I talk? It's not very good. You can tell that there's static because look where the microphone is when I stop talking. It's right here. It's lingering close to minus 40 decibels. So we're going to add something to get rid of that background noise. So we're going to click on this wheel, click on Filters, and the plus sign. We're going to add an expander. An expander will get rid of that background noise. We saw that the static was happening around 40 decibels, so we want this to be louder. We want to set the expander to around 30. That should get rid of the static sound when I stop talking. Now the ratio should be between 2 and 3. I'm going to click 2.5 for the ratio. That just means anything that's below 30 decibels is going to get squished by a factor of 2.5. That's good. You could turn it louder and it would just get rid of more background noise. But if it's too loud, then your voice is going to dip in and out when you get quiet. And when you get loud and then quiet again, it's going to dip in and out. So you don't want that. It sounds weird and kind of warbly. So we're going to drop it back to 30. You want it to be as low as possible to where it still gets rid of the static. It's going to be in a different spot for you depending on how noisy your room is and how far away you are from your microphone. For me, it's at minus 30. You're just going to have to play with this. And you can do test recordings as well and listen to it and make sure that it's getting the static but not messing up the way your voice sounds. So keep it at minus 30. The attack and release is pretty much fine where it is. I like it to be a little bit smoother, so I put the release up to like 200. And you don't need any output gain. So we're good. Now let's see if it gets rid of the static sound when I stop talking. Yeah, it seems to work. It doesn't go past minus, I don't know what number this is, very small. It doesn't go past this, so you shouldn't be able to hear it. But another issue is when I go from talking really loud to talking kind of quiet like this, there's a big difference in my volume. It's a little bit too dynamic. So what we're going to do is add a compressor. So click on this wheel and click on filters and click the plus sign. We're going to add a compressor. The ratio should be between 2 and 3 to 1. 2 to 1 to 3 to 1. It should be in that range. So again, I'm going to select 2.5. Actually, I'm going to select 2. This means that when your voice gets above the threshold, which is negative 18 decibels, it gets squished by a factor of 2 to 1. I'm going to drop this to about minus 20. So now the threshold is minus 20 decibels. If my voice gets above that, it gets compressed. And that'll just make it sound a little bit more consistent. So when you get really loud, it isn't quite as loud. This is also going to make it quieter. So we're going to have to add some gain, add about 3 decibels of gain to make up for it. And now when I talk, you can see it no longer turns all the way red. It no longer is clipping because I'm squishing the loud noises and making the quiet noises louder. So it's really, really, really important to add a compressor. It'll make everything sound so much better. I've seen streams where people don't have an expander or a compressor and you just hear static all the time, and then their voice is really quiet when they kind of look away from the microphone, and it doesn't sound very good. And one more thing I'm going to do, this is totally extra, you don't have to do this, but I think it makes it sound just a little bit better, is add another compressor that I'm going to use as a limiter. Oh, I spelled limiter wrong. That I'm going to use as a limiter. So that basically means when it gets really loud, I'm going to compress it even more. So I want to only get the really loud noises. So I'm going to start this compressor at negative 8 decibels. And I'm going to compress it to a 3 to 1 ratio. So if I get louder than negative 8, it's going to start compressing it more. So it's not going to go up into the high red. It'll stay in the low red. And that's good. So now when I talk, it likes to linger around here, somewhere in this zone. That's exactly where it should be. The next thing we can do is add our game capture. So to do that, we click on this plus sign. We click on video capture device. And I've already done it. I called it Elgato. But if you're adding it for the first time, just call it whatever you want to call it, game capture. Click OK. And here we are. That's my Elgato. Click on resolution / FPS type. Make it custom. And set it to 1080p. And for FPS, set it to 30 or 60, whatever you prefer. I set it to 60. And now we have our game. Now our game has audio too. And it's working. But I can't hear it. So what I need to do is add a monitor device. So click on settings, go to audio, and click on monitoring device. It should be set to default if you haven't done this yet, but just click whatever you're listening to your noises through. For me, it's called speakers, Realtek audio. Click OK. And now we're going to need to add another source so that we can actually hear it. So I'm going to click on this plus sign and click on audio output capture. I'm going to add my headphones. Now I've already done this, but let's pretend that I haven't. So I'm going to call it headphones. And I'm going to click on speakers, Realtek Audio. You click on that and just click OK. So now I have my headphones here. So what I want to do is to send all of my audio to my headphones. So I'm going to click on Game Capture, click on the wheel, Advanced Audio Properties, and set it to Monitor Only. Now if it's set to Monitor Off, that means it goes to your stream and it does not go to your monitor. In this case, your monitor is your headphones or your headset or maybe your speakers if that's what you're using. You want to be able to hear your game, so you need to set it to Monitor Only so that it goes to your headphones. Your headphones need to be set to Monitor Off so that you're not hearing double. If it's set to Monitor Only, then your stream won't hear it, so set it to Monitor Off. If you also don't have a way to play back your microphone, you should set it to Monitor Only. That way your mic gets sent to your headphones as well. But I have an audio interface where I can hook up my headphones to the interface and I can hear my voice without having to do this. And that's good because this adds delay and it sounds really bad. And it sucks hearing your voice with like 100 or 200 millisecond delay. It really makes it hard to talk. So I have it set to Monitor Off. So right now my microphone is going to my stream. My headphones are going to my stream. And my Elgato capture card is being sent to my headphones. So that way the stream can hear the capture card through my headphones. So let's set our audio up. So now we have our game set up. Let's make sure the audio sounds good. What we want is for the game capture to be in the low yellow. We want our capture card to be in the low yellow. And since our headphones are the same volume as the game capture, we want them both to be in the low yellow. If it's too high, we're gonna have to turn it down. So let's play it a little bit and make some loud noises and see how loud it actually gets. Okay, it looks like it's a little bit too loud. See, it's in the red. Let's make even more loud noises. It's too loud. It's too loud. It's getting all the way into the red, as you can see. So what we're gonna have to do is drag it down. Let's drag our game capture down to -8 decibels. You can see the mouse right here. -8 decibels. Let's play it some more and see if the volume problem has been fixed. Because we want to be louder than the game. Like if I'm talking, you want to be able to hear me and the game, but you definitely want to be able to hear me. So I'm making all these loud noises. You should be able to hear the noises a little bit, but you should be able to hear me even louder. So that's where it should be. In order to test your audio and make sure it's good before you start streaming, what you can do is click on Start Recording. So click that and then play the game and talk at the same time. And then click Stop Recording. Then play the video back and make sure the volume is where it needs to be. That's a really easy way. That'll show you what your stream is listening to. And just make sure everything is good. If something is muted, you're going to need to go into your audio properties and figure out where the noise is being sent and why it's being muted. And if something's too loud, then all you have to do is take this and drag it. Drag it and make it smaller. Or if it's too quiet, make it bigger. And if it's all the way up and it's still not loud enough, then you need to add a filter and add a gain filter like I did on my microphone. But you shouldn't have to do that for anything. Now let's say it's where it needs to be. Your game is in the low yellow, but you can't hear it very well. Well, there's a really easy fix for that. You just gotta turn your computer up because your headphones are connected to your computer. So if it's loud for the stream, but it's not loud for you, then just turn your sound up. Turn your sound up. That's it. And if it's loud for you, but not loud enough for the stream, then you're gonna have to turn this up, you just turn the mixer up and then turn your computer down a little bit to balance it out. Now let's worry a little bit about our game volume, about the dynamics of our game volume. Some games are really loud at loud parts and really quiet at quiet parts. The Last of Us 2 was like that. So one thing we can do is go into our settings. It depends on the game. It depends on the game. Different games have different settings. Let me get rid of my webcam. So in Last of Us 2, it's in Options, Audio, and scroll down until you see Dynamic Range. Some games will have like a dynamic range setting. If it's set to medium, which is the auto setting, then the quiet parts are going to be quiet and the loud parts are going to be loud. But if you compress it by putting it up to midnight, then it'll sound much better. It'll make the loud parts medium and the quiet parts also medium. So you don't have to worry about the game getting louder than you when it's loud, or people not being able to hear the quiet parts when it's quiet. But if your game doesn't have this option, what you can do is right-click on your game capture, your capture card, click on Filters, and under Audio/Video Filters, click on the plus sign and add a compressor. And we can do it just like we did on the microphone. We can compress it maybe 3:1 ratio. And minus 18 decibels is probably a good spot to start compressing it. Maybe a little bit lower, like maybe down to minus 24. But you can play with this and figure it out. And maybe add a little bit of gain, since you're making it quieter. So now if it gets above 24 decibels, it's going to be compressed at a ratio of 3:1, and then it's going to make it a little bit louder to compensate for the fact it's being squished. Let's see how that sounds with Last of Us. It probably doesn't sound good because it's already on the smallest dynamic range, but let's see what it sounds like. It's a little too compressed, but if you're playing something like Bloodborne or any other games that get really loud during exciting parts and stay really quiet during quiet parts and doesn't give you a setting to fix it, that's what a compressor can be used for. But we don't need it for this game, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Oops, right here. Now let's add our alerts to our stream. This is a really good way to keep things exciting, and most people who use OBS have alerts. It's engaging for your viewers, for them to see when somebody follows or when somebody subscribes. It makes people feel good, and it just makes everything look really good. So you can go to streamlabs.com, go to the login page. Streamlabs is really cool. It has all these widgets you can put on your stream, like your followers, your subs. You can set up goals like donation goals or sub goals or whatever. And it also is where you set up all your alerts for follows, subs, donations, everything. So log in using Twitch. I've already logged in, so it just takes me right here. This is weird. You guys are seeing my personal stuff. So click on widgets. It's the first one. It's called Alert Box. Click on that. And this is where you set up your alerts. So you have follows, subscriptions, donations, etc. So you can add an image, you can add a sound. This is really intuitive. I'm not going to explain how to do it. But yeah, you can set this stuff up. Now, in order to put this in OBS, you have to find this link right here, click copy. And now, in order to set it up, you have to go back to OBS, click on the plus sign, and click on browser. It's a link, it's a URL. So in order to add it to OBS, you have to add a browser source. I've already done it. It's called Alert Box, but let's just show you what it looks like. I'm going to call this Alerts. Click OK. And what you're going to do is paste the link right here where it says URL. Just paste the link that you got from Streamlabs. So let's cancel. I've already done it. So I have it right here. It's called Alert Box. And you can see that this is where I've put it. This is where Alert Box is located. So if you want, we can do a test follow or something, a test, whatever, and see if it works. Let's do a test follow. That's my follow alert. Let's do a donation. There we go. It's working. That's exactly how it should look. So I added this to a browser scene, which shows you the browser. Let's put it on our game, because you're going to be playing the game. You want the alerts to pop up on your game as well. So same thing, we're going to go to the plus sign. We're going to click on browser, because remember it's a browser source. It already exists. Alert box is what I called it. So open it. And it automatically puts it in the top left. I want it right here. And smaller. I like it just a little bit to the right. Now let's test it again. There it is. It's working. Now let's add our webcam to this scene. So click on the plus sign. We're going to click on video capture device. I've already done it. I called it webcam, but let's pretend we're doing it for the first time. I'm going to call it Logitech. And we're going to click on webcam C920. And here I am. But this is our game scene, so I'm way too big. So, whoop, I'm over here now. Okay, so this isn't cropped. This doesn't look good. This is, you can see all the stuff in the background. So one thing you can do is if you're on Windows, you can hold an Alt on the keyboard and click and drag. And you can crop it. Look at that. This is Alt and clicking and dragging. So we can crop it the way we like it. I like to have it to where it's just outside of my shoulders. And you can see like, just to like right here is about where the bottom should be. Now I see some people that have their webcam like this, where it's like their chin is at the bottom and then there's all the space up here. It looks bad. It looks really bad. Don't do that. You should have it to where the top of your head is pretty much tangent to the top of your webcam. And drag it where you like it. Some people like it in the top left, like me. Or you could do top right, or bottom left, or bottom right. But I like it in the top left. I'm going to crop it a little bit more. There we go. Now we have me, we have the game, we have alert box. So if we play the game a little bit more, let me get it set up on my other monitor. If we play the game a little bit more, we can see the game, we can see me, and I'm playing it live, and I'm talking. You can hear me, you can hear the game. Everything's set up. So when you're mixing, you need to have your voice to be the loudest thing, then your alerts to be in the middle, and then your game to be the quietest thing. Because you want to be louder than your game. If somebody gives a subscription or something, then you want that to be louder than your game, even if it's in a loud part. And you want your game to be quieter than everything else. So just keep that in mind when you're mixing your audio. When you add your webcam to your layout, I forgot to mention this, you should click on Properties, Configure Video. The default settings are probably going to be garbage. If you're using a Logitech webcam like me, which is what most people use, then you got to do some adjustments here. It's going to probably start you at like really low exposure. You can click auto exposure if you just trust it to look nice, you know, but if you want it to look really good, you should do manual settings. Now you have to have a pretty controlled lighting environment. Like if the sun is out and it's bright in your room and then the sun goes down, just leave it on auto. But I like to leave it on manual. So I set up my exposure and my focus manually. The Logitech webcams have really bad focus problems, so I like to leave it off autofocus and just set it to 30. That's where I like it. Then adjust your gain after that. I like my gain to be around 240, I think, something like that. And your white balance, you can set that on auto if you want to. I don't like to do that. I like to set it manually so that it doesn't change spontaneously. And leave all this stuff the same. If you want to adjust your brightness and contrast and stuff, OBS has filters for that are much better than these settings. So if we change the brightness, it looks bad. It looks really bad. And it's already set up the way we like it. So just leave them at 128. There we go. So another thing we need to do is make sure we're ready to start our first stream. Click on Settings. Now go to Stream. It will allow you to log in using your Twitch. So click on Twitch, connect account. It's going to make you log in. It's really easy to do. You can also use a stream key, which you can find on Twitch. You can find on your account on Twitch. But I recommend just doing connect account. And it'll make you log in and you'll be connected. You'll automatically, like if you start stream here, it'll stream it to your channel. Now let's make sure our output is correct. There are a bunch of different options to do this. It will start you at simple. If you're not going to be recording a bunch of stuff or need different recording settings in your streaming settings, just keep it at simple. It's already optimized that way. I use software encoding, which uses your CPU, but you can also use hardware encoding. If you do software encoding, then it will use more CPU, and there's a chance that your CPU is not very good, and it's going to have problems doing that. You have a few options. One thing you can do is just try using hardware. Just try streaming using your GPU. But what you can do as well is click on Advanced. Now this is getting in kind of not beginner territory anymore. Set your bit rate. Your bit rate should be probably between 3000 and 4000 if you're in 720p, and 6000 if you're in 1080p. I only stream at 2500. It works fine for me. My CPU is pretty good. And if you have kind of crappy internet, then a lower bit rate will do just fine. It'll prevent you from dropping as many frames. You should definitely stream using Ethernet rather than Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is going to give you a lot of problems. So definitely get a wired connection. But if you have issues with your encoder, it says, like in the bottom left down here, it'll say warning, encoding overloaded, and you'll hear a bunch of crackling noises and you'll be dropping a lot of frames in your stream. One thing you can do is click on your CPU usage preset and click on ultra fast. I don't know why I said that ultra fast, but ultra fast makes it to where it doesn't think as hard, which makes it use less resources. If you're on like medium or something, it'll look really, really, really nice. It won't have as many artifacts, but it's going to use more CPU usage. Normally a good balance is very fast. If you want it to look better, you can also bump this up, like 4000 maybe. I just keep it at 2500 though. Now let's say you want to stream in 720p. That's probably what you should do. You should still make sure you click on video. You should still make sure your base resolution and output resolution are at 1080p. It's fine if these stay at 1080p. Your frame rate can be 30 or 60, whatever you're going to be streaming at. I like it to be at 60. Now click on output again. Let's say you don't want to stream in 1080p. Let's say you want to stream in 720p. Click on rescale output. And click on the drop down menu and click 720. It's 1280 by 720. That is the output that it's going to stream at now. But if you want to do recordings in 1080p, you need to be in advanced mode for this in order to do all this stuff. This is why it's not super beginner friendly, but I'm telling you how to do it. Hopefully this helps. If you want to record in 1080p, click on recording And right now, the encoder is to use the stream encoder. That means it's going to record the exact same thing that your stream sees. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to click X264, which is software encoding. It uses your CPU. And right now the output is set to 1080p. That's where I want it to be. The bit rate is at 2500. That's really low for a 1080p recording. So I'm going to set it to 6000. That's pretty good, especially if you're uploading to YouTube. It could even be as low as like 5000, 4000 maybe. But 6000 is good, just to keep them pretty fresh looking. CPU usage, I'll just keep it at very fast. If you want it to look really good for your recordings, you can set it to slow or medium or even slower. But it might hog up your CPU. Like if you're streaming and recording at the same time, it's going to hog up your CPU. So you might want to consider recording in X264 and streaming in your GPU encoder. Using your GPU encoder, because then they'll split up the tasks and your CPU is not going to be overwhelmed. But my CPU can handle streaming and recording at the same time, so I just have it set to my CPU for both. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, then leave a thumbs up, or don't. I really don't care. Hopefully this helps somebody. It's a lot of stuff that I don't really see in other YouTube videos about getting stuff set up, especially about mixing your audio and applying compression to your mic and that kind of stuff. I might have talked a little fast at times or might not have been very clear, so if you have any questions, make sure to leave those in the comments. I'd be very happy to answer those questions, or maybe even make a video revising some of the stuff that I missed. So yeah, let me know if you have any more questions. This should help you get your stuff set up. This is mainly made for my friends in the Last of Us community who are starting streaming. That's why this video was kind of specific to The Last of Us Part 2. But this should apply to any sort of game. So, but if you have any issues, just leave a comment or message me on Discord or something if you have me on there. And I'd be happy to answer those. Alright, I'll see you guys later.